Sure, if you would like to, that would be nice. Since there's a new list, people have to find.
Am I on the screen now, Carlos?
Yep, you are. Can you hear me?
Yep. Thank you. Very well. Welcome, Lara. Is that your house? Wow, very, it's like it could be a wedding chapel or something. Okay, Carlos, is everyone seated who's come in, or?
People are still sitting down.
Okay. Okay. So just maybe to just talk. I wasn't able to watch any of this women's tennis finals championship in New York between two teenagers. I would have liked to, but it was all blocked off. But the thing that I thought was very interesting, the lady who won, she kept on saying about how it was staying in the moment. Staying in the moment, you know, one shot at a time. When I was young, in the 70s, somebody wrote a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. The Inner Game of Tennis. And that was probably my first kind of introduction to meditation, was through that book, because I played tennis then. And yeah, a lot of similarities between meditation and tennis. You run a little more with tennis, but you're chasing the present moment just the same, right? So maybe I'll introduce a little bit what I thought, or what I'd like to do is kind of pick up on the theme that we had last week, where we were talking about thought, we were talking about the inner critic, and okay, maybe, I don't know if I want to say this before the meditation or after, but I'll try it before. in the Theravadan Buddhist perspective, the right view, the first of the Noble Eightfold Path, the three characteristics of all conditioned experience is what we want to see. And we want to see everything through that perspective, that prism. So just as a reminder, we have the three, which is that things are impermanent, right? Anicca, that things are unsatisfactory, ultimately unsatisfactory. Nothing is satisfying forever, dukkha. And then the final one is that nothing is self, right? Anatta. And I was just reading one of the books that's there at Saladana, or maybe they're all gone now, but they were up at the front, about how with thought, if we can observe our thought with those three things in mind, then they're going to bother us a lot less, right? So when we notice that they're impermanent, that they don't last forever, that they just kind of come and go, and that even the most fantastic daydream fantasy, which might, make you feel good for some moments, it will end. Something will happen. You'll get called to dinner, or, you'll just run out of interesting things to think, and, you just run aground, and then pretty soon it's unsatisfying, dukkha. And then the third one is the most interesting, I think. And that is that thoughts are not ours. We don't own them, and they're not who we are. They are a conditioned response. They're a conditioned nature of the mind to think. And this includes all thought, not just a few. It's all thought. And so the problem is, if we believe our thoughts, if we believe them as being true, that can be a problem. Or if we believe them as being me, that I must be some kind of person because I've had that thought. This can cause us a lot of suffering, a lot of unhappiness, right? And they're not, and sometimes it's difficult. In fact, it can take years for some people to understand that these thoughts are not a reflection on who I am. But this is our perspective. This is what we're trying to train ourselves to understand and see clearly. That's why we do vipassana. Vipassana meditation is to see clearly and to see these three characteristics. So for our meditation coming up, what I'd like to invite you to do is be aware of your thought, not as a primary object. So let's still work with the breath, work with the body, work with the sounds as we've been doing. But especially once you start to get, hopefully you'll start to get a little bit of momentum, the thoughts are still going to be there. And what I invite you to do is to pay a little bit of attention to the thought, notice it. What kind of thought might it be? Still want to let it, just let it go on its way. Don't cling to it, don't feed it, but just kind of notice what kind of thought arises. And also notice if the intensity of the thought starts to diminish as you go about the practice during these 30 minutes. I mean, it might not, but it is possible if you start to get a little momentum in your practice and you're able to stay with your object, 3 breaths, maybe 4 breaths, 5 breaths. Do you notice how the thoughts kind of recede a little bit into the background, how they're not as loud? And then, this may not happen, but it might. So that's my invitation. And do it if you want to. Are there any questions? Okay, I will change it up just a little bit where we'll go from a, more samadhi, calming the mind kind of practice to more of a vipassana practice towards the end. Don't worry about that right now. I'm going to set my timer here for 30 minutes. As some of you know, we usually go a minute or two after, but pretty much close to 30 minutes. And yeah, here we go. Find yourself a comfortable posture. If you haven't already. And so we want to drop into the present moment. We want to unify the mind with the present moment. And a very good way to do that is with the body. Because the body is always in the here and now. There's a lot of other benefits too of unifying the mind and the body. So just try to drop your attention, your awareness into the body and feel your body. Any sensations that might be present. Could be a little discomfort. Or maybe not. Body parts touching the cushion, touching the zabuton, the manta, touching the floor. Maybe you can notice the weight of your body. How Mother Nature is holding us at just the right amount of gravity. And see if you can envelop or include your entire posture, your entire sitting posture in your awareness all at once. Just try to feel the whole body at once, at one time. Now the body makes for a very good anchor, a very good home base, so that when the mind drifts off, starts to think or imagine or see images or whatever, you have a place to return the attention to. So then you come back to the body. Try to stay with the body, feeling, experiencing, observing the body. And then the mind will drift off. And then you come back again and again. Now I like the body, if there's quite a bit of energy in the nervous system, maybe some anxiety even. I usually go for the whole body as an anchor. Just include everything that might arise. But if you want something a little more narrow, maybe you're a little drowsy, or if you have a practice with the breath, and let's go to the breath. Maybe everybody just go to the breath, see how that is. So we find the breath. Where is it? Maybe you notice it in the belly, the movement of the belly, movement of the chest, or even the whole body moving with the breath. Maybe you notice it at the nostrils. So the breath also makes a very good anchor, home base, object for our attention. So the same thing when the mind drifts off, when we notice, we come back to the breath. And with the breath, there are various tools you can use to try to stay with the breath, counting the exhalations, for instance, up to 5. If you want, you can then count backwards. If you get lost, just start again, 0 or 1. You can also label the breath, in, out, or inhaling, exhaling, inhalando, exhalando. You could also do what the Thai forest monks do, where they say Buddha in Thai, which is Bu-do. Bu with the inhale, do with the exhale. It's a rather pretty way of tracking the breath, staying with the breath. Bu-do. And if neither the body nor the breath appeals to you today, you can use hearing or listening as an anchor. Just waiting for sounds to come. So as we work with our anchor, coming back again and again, we are also at the segunda plano, in the background, noticing the thoughts. What kind of thoughts are arising? Planning, judging, worrying, remembering, whatever. Try not to judge them or feed them or get lost in any more thought, but just kind of notice what kind of thoughts are arising. if it's hard to shake the thinking, let's say the mind is really obsessing about something, can't let go, I recommend you work with the body, then feel the body, and maybe even try to find any bodily sensation that might be generating that thought or a result of that thought, somehow connected to that thought. And then feel whatever that is, experience it. Sometimes that will slow down or even temporarily stop the thinking. if it's supportive, helpful, you can also label more of your experience than just the breath. Using the body, you can even from time to time just say sensing or feeling. And then with the thought, when you notice it and you quickly identify it, you could just give it a one word noun, planning, or even a verb, I guess, both. Planning, worrying, remembering, judging, criticizing, whatever it might be, just like one word, one time, and then back to your anchor, the breath or the body or hearing. So now, if you are willing, try something a little different. Let whatever is most obvious to your attention be the anchor until something else arises that is more obvious. Everything else pretty much stays the same. When thoughts come, we just return to the anchor. However, the thoughts can also be the object. See how long they stick around. But so maybe the attention will go from the breath to pain in the leg, to sounds coming from the room, to thought, back to the breath. Try not to be picky about where the attention lands, but once something's obvious, then just pay attention to it. Stay with it until something else calls the attention away. Hmm. So very good. So let's finish up our formal practice here by returning to the body, collecting your attention, infusing the body with awareness. Maybe even again trying to envelop or wrap your entire posture up in kind awareness, noticing the different sensations. Maybe by now there's some discomfort in the legs or the sit bones. Just notice. And then bringing the attention to the heart space, the heart center, the chest. Using that area with attention. And then giving yourself a thanks. Thank you for your practice, for the goodness of your practice, your diligence, being here this Sunday to nurture yourself, take care of yourself, and by extension, those around you. And imagining that you can extend your awareness, expand it to include those around you, those in Saladana or on Zoom, people in your home, your neighbors. And then we just extend out this expression of goodwill in all directions, offering up our practice. And then when you hear the sound of the bell, just being aware, whatever comes up in the mind, the body. See, I've sort of gone in the dark, so I will turn on the light here in a moment. But thank you all very much for your practice. It's very nice. Yeah, let's see, actually, I think I can reach a switch right here. Oh, yeah. Kind of. Maybe that's better. There we go. So I hope that was fruitful. I think I often forget to mention a form of thinking that I do a lot of, which is, I think I'd call it narration. It's like my mind is narrating what is going on or telling somebody about what is happening, like an announcer. Like going back to that tennis for a second, I was trying to get the tennis on my computer, right? And on YouTube, I could find announcers who were watching it and then announcing, but you couldn't see the tennis. You could only see them. And then they're telling you what's going on. It was very frustrating, actually, because I didn't want to see them and I didn't really care what they had to say. I wanted to see the mat. But my mind is sort of like that, though. It's sort of narrating away. Anyways, first I'll ask, are there any comments, questions? Anybody want to share? Anybody have any favorite thinking themes? Or how about a show of hands? How many people have minds that like to plan? Oh, that's a lot of planning. Do we have, I better put on my glasses so I can see. Do we have any worriers? Any minds that worry? Uh-oh, Laura, 2 hands. Oh, no. Okay. How about judging? Any judging minds? Oh, a lot of that too. Okay. We got kind of the whole range. Laura, did you want to say something specifically or? No. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about why, in the Buddhist perspective, our thoughts are not us. They're not me, they're not mine, okay? If they were ours or us, theoretically, we would have some control over them, right? They would do what we want. They would think what we want. But as you probably noticed, they didn't. The thoughts were probably anything other than what you wanted. And the Buddha even pointed this out 2,600 years ago. He talked about this specific thing. He said, if the thoughts or if the mind was truly yours, it would be under your control and you could tell it what to think and it would do it. But instead, the mind gets conditioned. And, we now believe neuroscience and anthropologists and so forth believe it's a survival mechanism where we had to learn repetition. We had to really literally develop habits to survive. Okay. Like if we went out hunting or gathering or whatever, if we didn't develop kind of an impression into the memory as to what we did, every time we went out, we'd have to relearn it, right? But we learn. This is one of the incredible things about us, is that we do learn. And part of that learning includes this developing of habits, this developing of tendencies, where we can then do things without even thinking about it, right? We can drive, for those of us who drive, and you can be talking on the phone, right, as well at the same time. So it works really good for survival. But if you have had conditions in your life, like many of us have, that were possibly traumatic or not especially supportive, if there was a lack of security, right, safety, if you didn't get, essential needs met, needs of feeling seen and known and understood, the mind is going to develop and form tendencies for survival in, not necessarily in a vacuum, but in response to the conditions that exist. And we're going to absorb what's around us. So I'm almost embarrassed to even say this one because it's so kind of sad, but it's so true. So I'll just stick with what's true rather than try to make something up. My mind has a habit of pointing out why I'm a bad person, right? Or why I'm a loser, right? Is that an L or is this one the L? With the screen, I can't tell whether it'd be an L for you guys or not. So just to be really transparent, it's like with our Zoom calls, we started a year and a half ago, there were 40 people on Zoom. Thanks to Lada and Denise, there's at least 2 others, and then Saladana. But my mind wants to take that and it wants to beat me up with it, right? This is a conditioned habit of my mind to try to prove to me that I am a bad person or a loser or, something. And I've noticed how it's less and less too, that these things do and can change. Just like they were developed, we can undevelop them. Most of them were developed when we were very young and we were very spongy in our minds, and the stuff can get in there quite deep into the nervous system, into the chitta, as we call it in Pali, where it's literally like cellular in the body. And it can take a very, very, very long time to discharge it, but it can be noticeable, where you notice how it's just less and less and less over a period of time. And I'll just read a quote real quick from Tejaniya. Let's see, what did I do with it? Give me a second. Where'd it go? Or maybe it's part of this. Yeah, here we go. Not very big. I'll make it bigger. So this is from Sayadaw U Tejaniya, which we've read some of his quotes. He says, "It doesn't matter whether thinking stops or not. It is more important that you understand whether your thoughts are skillful or unskillful, appropriate or inappropriate, necessary or unnecessary." So that particular thought that I have, this tendency, habit of my mind to try to point things out to me, like, that person over there doesn't seem to like you. It like does that. Is neither appropriate, necessary. I mean, it's not even true, right? It doesn't really matter, first of all, what that person thinks, whether they like me or not. And I can only imagine, I grew up in a family of criticizers. My God, they were just criticizing everybody, everything, each other. It was nonstop, on both sides of my family, my father's side, my mother's side, constantly criticizing, and seemingly maybe, I don't know, the habit was you knock them down, so maybe you feel better, or I'm not exactly sure even why. And these habits could go back hundreds of years. Who knows, right? My forebears, or my namesake, came to America in 1631 or 6 or something like that. It's almost 400 years ago. And best I can tell, my family has not changed in 400 years. That's pretty pathetic, really. But that's a long time to develop a habit, right? And now they even believe that these habits can get into our DNA. It's like you could be born from a family of criticizers and be adopted right there in that moment by the most loving family on earth that doesn't criticize anybody, right? They're just angels, and you might still end up having those kind of critical thoughts. It's possible because of DNA, just because of how kind of fluid, we are humans. So we notice, and I think the most potent, powerful antidote that we have is our kind awareness, our kind observing attention that we practice every time we meet on Sundays. Like we talked about last week, what we don't want to do is like, okay, a critical thought arises. Jim, there's only 2 other people on Zoom. You are a loser, right? So let's say that thought comes up, and then I go, you're so critical. Damn, you're a critical mind, right? So then I got this other criticizer criticizing the criticizer. All that's going to do is reinforce the criticizing. We want to try not to do that. That second one is very much optional. The first one just kind of comes. These we have very, very little control over, if any. They just arise due to conditions, due to our tendencies, due to our habits of the mind. They arise, but then we have a little bit of free will, you might say, a little bit of control over the response. And rather responding in kind, it's interesting, it's kind of a play on words. Rather than responding in kind, which means the same, right? Lo mismo, we want to respond with kindness. Yes, thank you for your opinion, or I hear you, or just simply pay attention to it until it goes, oh, okay, I feel seen now, and then it goes away. This is where we have, as one teacher, Sarah Armstrong, no, not Sarah, Sally Armstrong says, she goes, practice is about creating some freed up will, right? We have only so much free will, because if we had pure free will, we wouldn't even have these thoughts. It'd be just like, get out of here, but they keep coming. So obviously we have limited free will, limited ability to control our mind. But then the second one, we have a little will. And the Buddha taught this, that we have a little bit of will to notice, okay, is that helpful? Helpful thought, not a helpful thought, necessary, not necessary, appropriate, not appropriate. And then we could try to work with that if it's not appropriate. And if it's appropriate, yeah, then we want to feed it. And okay, even this concept that thoughts are not ours and they're not us, they're not me and they're not mine. If that's difficult for you to understand or accept, that is also a result of conditioning. Because probably, quite surely, it is the truth. It's very unlikely that it is not the truth, because it just, upon investigation, it just makes a whole lot of sense. And one can also look at it from a non-dualism point of view, where if you can pay attention to it, how can that be you? The subject and the object aren't, how would I say it better? If it's an object of your attention, it can't also be the subject. So our subject, the part of us that observes, that can see, that can notice, that is aware, right, can look at those thoughts, can be aware of those thoughts. So if we can be aware of it, the thought being the object and our awareness being the subject, then it can't be us too. It wouldn't make sense. You can't like, get inside there and observe yourself. You could try, and many people do. And, if you find yourself, let me know where you are. But many of us, and I definitely am one of these people, I don't accept things too easily, and I don't accept new ideas too easily. I need proof. I'm very skeptical, right? Faith does not come easily for me. And this one is one where a little faith can be helpful because the point of view is so helpful. My God, if I am convinced that whatever happens around me is not personal, because that's really another way of looking at it, it's impersonal. Impersonal. It's not personal. Oh, what a relief. I mean, just think I'm sure you've had experiences where you thought that what somebody else thought had something to do with you. Right? I mean, most of us have had that. Of course, when we're young, we want our mother to like us, otherwise we're going to die, right? So it's important there in those first couple of years that she's on our side, but it isn't much longer afterwards where it really doesn't matter what they're thinking. It doesn't have anything to do with us. The only person who really matters is ourselves when you get right down to it. But we believe, what my partner thinks of me is so important. Or like for me, what my children think of me is so important. If they're mad at me, I feel bad. And of course, I feel bad. But when it comes right down to it, it's not personal. It's their stuff. As they say in some recovery programs, it's like, what people think of me is none of my business. What people think of me is none of my business. That's the shit going on in their brain. And just because I wanted to see, I'm going to do a poll. So I had changed the meetup to extend it a little bit longer so we could do a 10-minute either break, walking meditation or whatever. So I'll put out, are people willing to stay until, what would that be, 8:55 and do a 10-minute meditation? Or do you want to just end as usual at 8:45? 8:55 with 10-minute walking meditation, raise your hand. Laura, Denise, that seems to be pretty close to unanimous. Okay. All right, we'll do that. So I'll just end with this and then we'll do the walking meditation. If you have a mind like mine that is conditioned to be skeptical and be conditioned not towards faith, and this concept of not self, anatta, if it's difficult for you to accept, please be kind with that part of you and try not to worry about it. Just try not to worry about it. Try not to make that personal, right? Because that one maybe you will be able to see. That is not your fault, right? That is not your fault that you might have a skeptical mind. Just like it wouldn't be your fault if you have a mind that tends easily towards faith. That is also not our fault. These things just happen, right? So many conditions come together, causes and conditions. That's what we talk about in Buddhism. They just come together, and then as a result, we have what we have. We have what we believe, we have how we act. We have even right down to probably how we look. I don't know, maybe there was less, but how the mind works is a result of causes and conditions. It's not our fault. Okay, but with a little bit of free will we have, why don't we do a 10-minute walking meditation? So for those of you who don't know how to do it or haven't done it before, so we're going to walk very slowly. Pick a pista, pick a little part of the room there, and for those of you at home, you'd know where to go, but maybe like 2 meters, and then just be very conscious of your feet and your legs moving, touching the floor. When you get to the end of your 2 meters, just very consciously with lots of awareness, turn around and then walk back. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to walk back and forth like that, nice and slow, being aware of the body, being aware possibly of the feet touching the floor, or even just the movement of the legs. And same thing with the thoughts. When they come, we just notice, maybe even notice, God, what kind of thoughts are those? Like I do a lot more planning when I'm in motion. My mind tends to even more planning. Maybe you'll notice that. And we just keep going back and forth, and then I'll ring the bell when 10 minutes pass. Sound good? Okay. You won't see me because I'm going to be over here, but I'll be doing it as well. Thank you for your practice and coming back. It's funny, I've always found walking meditation more challenging to calm my mind. And even just noticing it today, it's almost like my mind thinks, okay, now is the time to think. Like, let's go take a walk and think. Yeah, a little bit of planning. That was the one that's coming up. It's Sunday, and got a plan for Monday, that kind of thing. Anyway, is there anybody who would like to say something? Does anybody have a question or like to reflect? I think a hand. Was that a hand or a scratching of a head? Oh, yes. Carlos, there's a hand up behind you. To your right, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say hello to everybody because I'm new. Can you hear me?
I heard that you're new and you want to say hello?
Otherwise, if you want to come closer and speak to the mic. I just wanted to say hello and say hi to everybody because I'm new. My name is Jack, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciated being able to share all this with people. It's very nice to get to share this with people as opposed to just working on it alone. So thank you.
No, thank you, Jack. Yeah, keep coming back. Yes, Lara, please.
Yeah, it's possibly for another time, but just to see where I can get resources about the point that we're not our thoughts, we're not either our kind thoughts, just we're not our thoughts, we're not what we do, we know we are not what we have. So from a Buddhist perspective, what are we? Yeah, just that. And I know it's a big topic, so if you could give us an idea of how to search information about this from a Buddhist perspective.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are a number of books, written about it. And of course, the suttas themselves actually do say this. With the amount of time we have, because I even have a quote, I think up. Here, let me just see if real quickly I can just point right to this sutta here. Let's see. Okay, this will give us a little something. Okay, so this I just copied out of the Anatta, which means not self, Lakkhana Sutta. Okay, so this is the discourse on the not self characteristic of the three characteristics. And upon hearing it, the other four were enlightened. He was talking to his four friends on the path. And it comes right kind of down to, let's see, maybe right here. Any kind of consciousness, whatever. I mean, he takes it, as some of you know, we have the five aggregates of form and Vedana and perception, and there's consciousness, there's Sankara, the mental formations. And the final one is consciousness, which in some thought, like Hindu thought, consciousness is pure and infinite. But in Buddhist thought, this is really where he diverted. He parted ways with the Hindu beliefs of his time, that even consciousness is conditioned. And so reading that, what I bolded there, any kind of consciousness, whatever past, whether past, future, or presently arisen, whether gross or subtle, whether in oneself or external, whether inferior or superior, whether far or near, must, with right understanding, that's the first noble truth, the first of the Eightfold Path, be regarded thus. This is not mine, this is not I, this is not myself. And in this sutta, he goes through the various things kind of one at a time, as to whether this is you. And, the topic of emptiness kind of is a companion to this, okay? And Guy Armstrong happens to be the husband of Sally Armstrong, who I quoted. He wrote a beautiful book on emptiness that's quite readable. Sometimes they can be quite dense. But you could also look to, if you like dense, you could look to, give me a moment here to remember his name. Normally I remember his name. The one who recently passed away from Gaia House. His book's called Seeing That Frees. Rob Burbea, he wrote a book called Seeing That Frees, not freeze, cold, but freeze the heart, freeze the mind, freeze. That one also is a very good book on this topic. Very dense. I mean, that one's one where I read a paragraph and I have to contemplate it for like a week. I mean, it's just so dense. But the way Guy Armstrong does it is he investigates and he asks, is this me? Or is this me? And you just keep searching. And I think one of the ways the Buddha put it is, this is a quote from, I believe it's a Chinese monk, Chinese master. It's like a koan where it goes more or less like this, where the student goes to the master and said, can you get my mind? I can't get my mind to relax. And the master said, well, give me your mind and I will relax it for you. So he comes back and he goes, I can't find it. And the master goes, I have pacified it for you. So in the Buddhist perspective, more or less, we are just a fluid process of experience. Nada más. And we're here for this period of time as this fluid process of experience. And it's going to end. And yesta. That's more or less kind of the Buddhist point of view, I mean, in a nutshell. Some, like, the Vedanta, the Hindu is we're part of this infinite consciousness, and therefore our consciousness will continue as part of this infinite consciousness. And of course, there are those that believe in rebirth and stuff like that. But more or less, the Buddha was kind of like, yeah, you're going to be here for whatever, about 80 years or 90 or some people less, and you're going to have these experiences, and they're just going to kind of flow through you, really, and then you're going to die. Or they're going to end, Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. Just following on from Lara's question, there is a book by a guy named Mark Epstein.
Mark Epstein, okay. Yeah.
Thoughts Without a Thinker.
That's a great one, yeah. Mark Epstein, Thoughts Without a Thinker. Mark Epstein, Thoughts Without a Thinker. He's a very good writer. I think he's also a psychiatrist out of New York. And yeah, that's a good one. Thank you, Damien. That's a good recommendation. Well, good. Now we've reached right up to our new delayed time, but why don't we do a quick meditation and take us out? So for those of you who don't know this one, this is a meditation practice where we offer phrases or wishes of goodwill to ourselves and others. So I'll say some phrases and then you can repeat them mentally to yourself. So starting with I, me, the me that's not really me, but this experience that I'm having as a me. May I be happy. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I live with ease. That noise is not me or mine coming through my window. So now let's go with what we often call a benefactor. Somebody we really admire, love unconditionally, have no resistance towards. Could be the Buddha, Christ, favorite uncle, aunt. So imagine this being in front of you, could be a pet. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And now for what we call the difficult person. It's a little harder. Somebody we're having maybe a little issue with, resentment, hurt feelings. Let's draw that person up in our minds as if they're in front of us. Give them metta or goodwill. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And finally, all beings, all directions without exception. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings live with ease. And lastly, to take us out with generosity, renunciation, an offering of the fruit of our practice today for the benefit of all beings, offering up the teachings, our Sangha, our Buddha, nature. May all beings be happy and peaceful, healthy and strong, safe and protected. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, free from war and violence and discrimination, racism, and free from coronavirus. And may all beings find their right understanding, their right view that will lead to the end of their suffering. May all beings be free. Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming. Just a couple quick announcements. As most of you know, at Saladana, we do everything on the basis of generosity, where everything is freely offered in the spirit of Dana, hence the name. And you're also welcome to practice Dana. You can help us clean up. You can help us by leaving a financial donation in the Saladana box to help with the expenses. And sometimes there's even bigger projects. If you want to get involved in Saladana, we are definitely open to ideas and volunteers and so forth. And any donation is appreciated. Also, we have a website for those of you probably know, but maybe you don't, saladana.org, and it has the sessions that are going on now, which we pretty much have something almost every day of the week now. Most of them are in Spanish, but there's Thursday in English with Martina and Sunday with me. And I think Carlos won't be here next Sunday, but hopefully Martina will be here to manage the computer. And
Yep.
I think that's it. Carlos, do you have anything?
No, so I think just to run through the week, Che Manuela has a session Monday evening in Spanish. Tuesday, 7:30 is Triratna in Spanish. Wednesday, it's David in Spanish, I think at 8. Thursday is Martina, but this week Martina will not be here, so we'll probably be leading a silent meditation.
Okay.
And Friday is the Thich Nhat Hanh Amanecer group, right?
Yeah, they're back finally. That's so great.
Yeah. Saturday, I think Jose from Debian will be having another session here, and in the morning, I think, and then Sunday is your session in the evening. And I think Isabel has her yoga and her meditation in Sunday around in the morning. So there are other yoga sessions as well, and I think it's all on Meetup, right?
Yes, also on Meetup. That's correct. Yeah, thank you, Carlos. Very good summary there. So yeah, thank you all so much for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful week and stay safe and well. Bye.
Thank you, Jim. Bye, everyone.
Oh, bye, Lara.
Everyone, thank you, James. Thank you. Bye, Denise. Bye.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Bye.